welcome everybody to the Detroit Lions Week 7 preview episode of Real Talk Ravens podcast. Um, whew, this is going to be the toughest game for sure, Mike.
Yeah, so far.
Yeah, so far for sure.
It kicks off a really tough, just end of the year, really. I mean, we get a couple more, I would say, teams that I would consider fringe teams between Detroit and the real tough schedule, but Detroit definitely kicks it off.
Yeah, definitely. They're the first of a few. I mean, I know we do have Arizona next week, so that's not too terrible, but this week,
and then we also have Seattle and the Rams, so winnable games.
Detroit is currently sitting at 5-1. They've won 4 straight, and every single one that they've won by at least 2 scores. So they're pretty hot right now.
Streak, right?
Yeah, they're pretty hot right now. And you know what streaks are meant for?
Breaking.
They're meant to be broken. That's right.
Absolutely. They're meant to be shattered, actually. But,
yeah. So currently the spread is sitting at us favored by 3, being that we're at home, I guess. And
really?
Yeah, I know, right? The over-under is 42, so they're expecting a low-scoring game, I would say. And then just keep in mind right now, we are 1-1 at home. This is our 3rd game at home. Threads of the week, they just came out with today. Purple jersey, white pants, same that we wore week 1 versus Houston.
Yep.
Same that we wore then. Mike was at that one.
Hopefully it goes the same minus the injuries.
Yeah, minus the injuries. Weather, we're looking at 64 degrees, partly sunny, which is perfect. No real concerns there. Referee for the week, we've got Brad Rogers.
Brad Rogers. I know who that is.
15.3 penalties per game. He ranks 2nd in the NFL of all refs with the most penalties thrown per game. He's number 1 in offensive holding, not just this year, but also from 2022. So you got to watch.
He's that dude he's like that moon face dude, right?
Yeah.
Is that an improper thing to say? I'm sorry. He's that dude that like looks like he's not all there.
All right, so here we have it. This is the dreaded Brad Rogers. Offensive holding, his number 1 go-to. He's averaging 4.2 penalties per game with the holding, and that's double the NFL average. So, yeah. Since another thing to look at is since 2022, 69% of his games have hit the under. Because of how many penalties he throws, the offenses are not scoring as many points.
Great. That's exactly what we need.
Yes, exactly. So offense, we got a tough matchup with their defensive front. So we got to make sure we're not holding, So anyways, let's get into the injuries here. Here's what we're looking at for this week. Detroit, the one guy for sure that is out is David Montgomery. They're starting running back with a rib injury. That is very nice to see for us.
Yep, that's pretty big. He's been huge so far this year.
They've also got 2 other running backs on the injury report that have been limited, with Jahmyr Gibbs being the number 2 who would probably get the start, and then Craig Reynolds, both with hamstring injuries, which, can linger a little bit.
They linger.
Definitely linger. So it'll be interesting to see how that pans out. Sam Laporta limited with a calf injury. He's a starting tight end. Brian Branch, rookie DB. He's their nickel. He's limited with an ankle. And then the other big one, though, besides Montgomery, is their starting guard, Jonah Jackson. He has not practiced yet with an ankle injury.
Yeah.
That's pretty big.
Yeah, and I was trying to look and see if they had any O-linemen on there, because I see Frank Ragnow down there, but he's a full participant.
Yeah, he's back
as of today. But that's how they win their games, is they control the line of scrimmage when they have the ball, and they really just push the ball downfield. They'll either run it down your throat or do some sort of pass that you really can't get through that O-line if they're doing their jobs the right way. And after watching tape against the Buccaneers, that was kind of evident later in the game was they just kind of took control of the line of scrimmage.
Yeah, definitely.
So.
But looking back at us, let's see. Jadeveon Clowney just took Wednesday for a rest knee day because I don't know if you know, but his knee is all jacked up throughout his career.
Yeah.
It's like bone on bone. So we're doing a good job of giving him the necessary days off because he's back full on Thursday. So no issues there. Other guys, Brent Urban is back to limited with his neck injury. Marcus Williams and Kevon Seymour did not practice. I do not foresee them playing this week, either of them.
No.
Ronald Darby didn't practice because of an illness. He should be fine. He practiced on Wednesday, completely full, so he should be all right as long as he doesn't have the plague.
Yeah.
Malik Harrison is back to a full participant after his concussion protocol, which is nice to see. And then another name that we have not seen practice in quite some time is Odafe Owe. He is back in a limited role in practice starting Wednesday and Thursday. So it'll be interesting to see. I think he'll be questionable whether or not he goes for us this week.
I don't think he'll play this week. I think he'll play next week.
Yeah. The one thing that would make me think that he has a possibility of playing is the fact that we have so much depth that he wouldn't have to play many snaps, even if he played 5 snaps,
Yeah, I mean, it could take a load off of Jadeveon Clowney with his knee, too, a little bit.
Yeah.
That would be nice.
Yeah.
Okay.
We'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, it's just it's just a waiting game. Speaking of injuries, by the way, Tyus Bowser was on a podcast earlier this week and said that he feels great and hopes to be back at some point this year. So I know it sounded super cryptic with John Harbaugh, but you're getting two different stories. I tend to trust the player over Harbaugh because when Lamar last year was saying like he's trying, but he doesn't know if he can, Harbaugh was like, oh, he'll be back. He wasn't back,
Yeah.
So I'm going to trust the player over the coach.
100%. 100%. Definitely. Who knows? Harbaugh could have been confused with somebody else for all we know.
Right.
As far as signings go and releasings, we released running back Kenyon Drake. And I think he was only on the practice squad, really. And that was to make room for safety Andrew Adams to our practice squad. I could easily see him being elevated with Marcus Williams being out. He's 30 years old. He's had 46 career starts, has had 8 career interceptions. So he's definitely someone that's going to bring a veteran presence. I don't see him starting, but I think he could, maybe bring in some added value as depth.
There's definitely going to be 1 or 2 packages that are going to just have him in there. So it'll be good to have. And right now he's on the practice squad anyway. So
yeah,
hopefully it stays that way.
Yeah. But yeah, let's go ahead and shoot it over to TK's Coaches Film Room segment. All right, welcome everybody into the TK's Coaches Film Room study. This is going to be covering the Ravens versus the Titans Week 6 matchup. There was a lot to like. I would say my main takeaways, a lot of the times we were running versus loaded boxes offensively, meaning defense, there was 6, 7, 8 guys in the box to our 5 or 6. And offensive line definitely struggled to get any push up front. Although we did run the ball for a good amount, there were definitely a lot more plays to be had, especially in the red zone, where we were just blown off the ball. John Simpson specifically struggled on multiple occasions. Ronnie Stanley had a few where he struggled. Mainly on that left side, I'd say, was our weak point offensive front-wise. Defensively, really liked what I saw on third down and the pressures that we were able to come up with. We came home with, I think, 6 or 7 sacks, so really good to see that. Marlon Humphrey, he was getting roasted by DeAndre Hopkins on multiple occasions as well, but luckily we didn't do what we did versus Pittsburgh. We helped him out, brought some safeties over to make sure he had help behind him. And then on one occasion, Geno Stone took over and intercepted one, thankfully, because he got beat on that one also. The other thing that I really took away was Mark Andrews, good or bad, is always going to be the go-to guy for Lamar on any big moment. Like I said, good or bad. That means no matter what, even if Mark Andrews is double covered, Lamar is looking to go to him first. But without further ado, let's go ahead and get into the first play here. First thing that I want to see here is Lamar Jackson is pre-diagnosing at the line of scrimmage. How many guys are in the box here? He's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 guys right here. Count that safeties walk down, that's 7. Just taking a look at it. And then he brings Hill in. That's really an extra guy coming off the edge. So we got all these guys right here. So Lamar is seeing on the, if you saw it on the wide view, you'd see that it's man coverage outside. He's going to make a check at the line of scrimmage. He did this a few times in the game. I really like this, though. He's becoming more comfortable in this offense. Now he's making checks at the line of scrimmage, telling his guys what to do. They're communicating, doing a good job of communicating, and he's going to call a screen play here to the left to Nelson Agholor. Like I said, it's man coverage. But what we're going to get here is we're going to get linemen coming out as extra blockers. Okay, so they're blitzing, pretty much an all-out blitz, cover 0. We get Stanley out. I want to watch Stanley here. Look at his athleticism to get out here and block this safety. I mean, he leads this play and allows Agholor to pretty much go up the seam here. And if Agholor just makes one more guy miss or has a little bit extra burst, he's scoring a touchdown probably. Either way, huge play in the game. I think it was on the first drive. Really big play. Next here, I just want to follow Lamar here. We're going to have basically a play action boot out to the right. Good blocking. Good job by Isaiah Likely right here, sealing off that edge, making it so Lamar doesn't have a guy in his face right away. Then this DB comes up and is trying to play Lamar. Lamar's got his eyes downfield at his target right here. I think that's Bateman. But what Lamar does, he knows this DB is going to get into his passing lane. So he gives him a quick pump fake right here and then sidearms it around him perfectly in stride to Bateman. That was an awesome play by Lamar Jackson, just changing his arm angles. He's done it on multiple occasions, but I just wanted to highlight because it is very special. Here, another example of Lamar making odd throws out of odd places. All right, so he's got some pressure. Again, I told you, John Simpson, he got manhandled on Sunday, and here's an example where he gets beat. Lamar has forced to step up in the pocket right here. He's got 1, 2, 3 D linemen right here, and he's trying to hit his crosser coming across. He steps up, and he throws it with pretty much nowhere to throw while he's getting hit, and it's a seed to Agholor 30 yards down the field. So, I mean, it just shows you that Lamar does not need a lot of space to throw the ball. He's able to make a lot of plays, a lot of accurate throws and passes with very little room around him in the pocket. All right, here's something that I liked schematically more so than anything was just being able to bring Zay Flowers back into the backfield. I know earlier in the season we did this quite a bit with Duvernay, but I really enjoyed seeing Zay in the backfield because I just think he brings a different dynamic with the ball in his hands. And even if he's not getting the ball, he's going to carry extra attention because the defense knows that we love to give him the ball as much as we can in as many ways as we can. So here, Lamar Jackson, we're just running an outside zone, but reading this backside edge man, essentially. Or sorry, this is going to be a counter because we're going to have both our guard and tackle pulling. We're going to have a lead blocker with Gus Edwards coming around. He's reading 99 here. All right, 99. He probably can give this to Zay, honestly, because I don't think 99 is going to tackle him per se from behind. But Lamar makes the decision to go ahead and pull it. He has to make him miss a little bit, but he did do that anyways. Um, Honestly, it was a misread by Lamar. He's lucky he gets 5 yards out of it. He probably could have got more if he hands it off to Zay. All right, here I just want to watch Lamar's feet. All right, we're going to have a quick little hitch route over here to the right side of our screen to Zay Flowers. But this was one that Lamar, he seems to have one per game where he just doesn't get his feet set and just tries to rush it. So right here, he drops back, gets his feet in the ground. But look at him, he's on his toes. All right. One thing as a quarterback is you don't really want to be on your toes when you're throwing the ball. If this is a quick pass, you know it's coming out quick. You want to have this back foot in the ground solid so you can drive and plan off that and throw a dart right to Zay. All right. He just doesn't really get all the way around. Look again, he's finishing up on his toes, and it's just way outside of Zay. Inaccurate pass. Even if Zay does get tackled there for 5 yards, that's better than nothing. All right, here we are now in the red zone. As we know, we had our struggles in the red zone. Another negative play here. This is one for Ronnie Stanley right here at left tackle. Okay, so we're going to run some type of gap scheme. I think it's either counter or power coming back this way. Looks like it's counter because we don't have anybody right here. So we're going to have a pulling lineman and Ricard coming around. And Stanley's whole objective is just to block down 95. Block him down and wash him down out of the play so that Gus Edwards can come right off his butt and follow his pullers. All right, so just watch Ronnie Stanley here. On the snap. Boom. He gets driven so far into the backfield that he gets in the way of the pulling lineman and Ricard and just completely 95 just completely just disrupts this entire run play. And we get, Gus Edwards is immediately getting contact with his own offensive lineman as soon as he gets the ball. And that's never a good thing when you're getting beat up like that. Like I said, we struggled to get push on the offensive line, and this is an example of that. And it was also an example of it being in the red zone, which was our struggles. That a lot of it, people say, the play calling was terrible, but a lot of it, you got to come down to execution offensively. All right, here's towards the end of the game. I just want to show this amazing throw off of Lamar to Mark Andrews coming up the seam here. Just an absolute seed. Lamar gives him a little stutter. Whew. In between two guys, just like that. And that just put him to sleep, I think. That was the dagger for them. All right, defensively here, I had absolutely nothing to really harp on negatively. Obviously, we let up a few big plays. I said before the game, that's the only way that the Titans could move the ball on us. It wasn't going to be them driving the ball down the field, really. They had one with Derrick Henry on the Wildcat where we just got caught off guard with that motion, thinking there was a reverse. And then another time on a screen to Spears, which I told you Spears was going to be. He's due for a big gain every single game. He's just an electric player. But luckily, we kind of had that bend but don't break mentality. Only let up one touchdown defensively. The rest were just field goals. So here, the player I want to highlight is Patrick Queen right here. He's the weak side linebacker. All right, so this is going to be a zone play to the right, and what that means is Patrick Queen is not necessarily supposed to make this play. But just watch and see. All right, he bumps over. Look at the communication here. Kyle Hamilton to Patrick Queen to Roquan. All three of them are on the exact same page pre-snap. You see this time and time again with our defense. That's what makes them so good is their communication. But I just want to show you Patrick Queen, how quickly he just dissects what's going on here. He sees the zone. And he shoots this gap right here. This offensive lineman backside is responsible for him. He has no shot. He comes through here, and like the broadcast said, our guys knew all week, in order to take down Henry, you go down low. He takes him out at his legs. Boom. Tackle at the line of scrimmage. Great play by Patrick Queen. Diagnosing. Quick reaction. Here again, I want to highlight Patrick Queen. Patrick Queen is balling right now, okay? I would say he's probably not going to be back with us unless we get a hometown discount with him. But anyways, here we are. This is a third down. He's mugged up on the line of scrimmage, right? So what that means is he's at the same level as our defensive lineman. You also have Roquan on the line of scrimmage walked up. All right, and that allows our defensive ends, our edge guys, Clowney and Van Noy, to really slide outside, be in that wide 9 alignment. All right, so let's see what we got here. All right, Patrick Queen just comes right up the middle, unblocked. Never should this happen for an offensive lineman. 60 definitely had a missed assignment here. He should be blocking Queen. But I think what he's just afraid of is how good Matabike is. I mean, he's probably thinking he has to take Matabike and then 66 will take Clowney because this tight end's probably trying to get out. Either way, you do not want to stick spears on him. So actually what Queen is really trying to take this this guard out so that Matabike, the defensive tackle, can loop around him. He's being the bigger man here, but regardless, he takes him out. Matabike gets by. Now you got Matabike on a running back, and Patrick Queen's got the inside leverage on that guard, straight pass to the quarterback, and he just manhandles him. Look at all these bodies around the quarterback, though. That was what I love to see. That was something that you saw time and time again on third down specifically. Our third down blitz package on Sunday was elite. All right. Here, I want to highlight Matabike. All right. Here we have this look that I was talking about on the last play, but now instead of Van Noy lining up outside, Kyle Van Noy's walked up. You got Patrick Queen back at linebacker. Roquan Smith walked up. So you got these two. You know, a lot of people talked about how Myles Garrett was bouncing around all over the place. Look at Kyle Van Noy playing inside. He's doing that too here. All right, but I want to highlight Matabike. He's normally a 3 technique inside here, but we got him lined up on their tackle as an edge rusher. Matabike, a D tackle on their edge. That's what makes him so valuable. Look at this. Just drives him into the backfield, into the quarterback. Oh my gosh, the power that takes is incredible. Matabike had himself a day. 2 sacks. That's one of them right there. All right. Now, again, like I said, this is an awesome look. All right, we can do so many things out of this. With Kyle Van Noy walked up inside, Matabike outside, you got Roquan lined up inside. The offensive line does not have a chance here. All right, but what you're going to see, I want to look at Kyle Van Noy. All right, he goes and stunts inside, and that allows our nose tackle, Pierce, to loop around and get a hit free on the quarterback. And there's no chance Ryan Tannehill, with all 400 pounds of Michael Pierce, is getting a good playoff. Unfortunately, they called a roughing the passer on this. It was a BS call. But I can tell you right now, if we continue to do that, we are going to make other quarterbacks just not want to play us. That's for sure. All right, in the last play defensively, I want to look at one of Clowney's sacks here. This was toward the end of the game when they were driving. They had Malik Willis in. Clowney's lined up here on the left edge outside of the tight end. But look at him mash up on 78. I just want to show you how freaky athletic he is and how great he is with his hands. All right, watch him get off 78 so quickly. He loves his little track stance here. I mean, just like that. He's by 78 in a blink of an eye. And then Malik Willis has no chance. I would like to see him, just have some more oomph at the quarterback when he tackles him. It seems like he's always trying to drag him down, and it's tough for him. So I would like to see that going forward, but, I can't argue when he's got 2 sacks. And we're back from the TK's Coaches Film Room segment.
Oh boy.
Yeah. So, like I said during the segment, offensive line's got some work to do, especially on that left side with Simpson and Stanley. I think those two have struggled definitely against Tennessee, and it's not going to get any easier versus Detroit. So that's two guys to really look at. And obviously, our defense was lights out, especially third down. Blitz packages were ridiculous. So,
Yeah. I mean, I think offensively, we need to go into this game and we need to really do three things. First of all, we have to block. Aiden Hutchinson will absolutely lay Lamar Jackson out if we let him. And so far, we've been letting everyone. Um, Ronnie Stanley, John Simpson, um, Eiler Linderbaum. Well, you normally do it. But pretty everyone on that O line, just for 1 week, understand that this is a top-notch defensive line, and you actually have to show up. All right, go earn your game check. Stop. Half the line is okay 1 week, half the line is the other week. Nah, man, y'all get paid starting money to be on a offensive line in the NFL. Go do your job. Ronnie Stanley should be good. He's had some time to come back from an injury that wasn't so severe, but he did miss a week. John Simpson's just honestly, I mean, that's just what you're going to get with him. That's kind of his ceiling for at least this season. I don't want to put a cap on his, on his ceiling for good because obviously, you learn, you get better. But I just at this point in the season, you can't expect much more from him. Come like late season, once he's played a bunch of games, I think he'll really step into his own. He might surprise me, but especially because of that, we really need Ronnie Stanley to step up. And then on the right side, Zeitler and Moses. Moses is playing, right? Moses should be playing.
yep.
Yeah, I think they'll be okay. Just the key is staying healthy there. The next point I was going to make was we have to run the ball, and that also comes with O line. We have to run the ball better than we have been, way better than we have been, especially against the Titans. I know they have a really good defense, but so do most of the teams that we play for the rest of the year.
So it's funny
So
you
I
say
don't.
that. The Lions have the number one rushing defense in the NFL.
That doesn't shock me.
They have not had one 100-yard rushing game against them yet.
They probably will continue that streak the way we've been playing.
Well, I feel like you have to think about this, though. All those Lamar scrambles that he gets 5, 10, 15 yards on, that adds up for rushing. So right now, we're
True.
actually ranked the number 5 rushing offense in the NFL.
Yeah, I mean that point holds true. I mean we aren't playing on stupid turf, so Lamar's not going to slip every time he tries to scramble like he did last week. But I think that's where we're going to probably get most of our yards on the ground anyway, is just through Lamar. I think the running backs are going to be more useful for blocking and catching like screen passes because they're going to stuff that box every time they think we're going to run. And the last key, which we did a good job of last week, is minus that really bad interception, no turnovers. We have to avoid turnovers at all costs against this team. They actually do have a pretty beat up secondary. What's his face? Chauncey Gardner Johnson out for the year. I think their rookie has missed some time. He's been in and out of the lineup. So their secondary, at least their corners, have been a little banged up. So don't throw an interception. Don't turn the ball over. You should still be able to drive the ball down the field, at least in the first half, the way you have been on against other teams. We'll see what happens when they adjust. But for the most part, I think if we can attack the air successfully enough that they have to respect it, we can run on them, and then that'll be a good formula to win the game on offense.
Yeah, I agree. I took some time and kind of watched Detroit's defense specifically on the All 22 and looking at them from the previous couple games. One thing that I took away from them is that they are an extremely, extremely aggressive defense.
Yeah.
So they're going to take chances. Offensively, they are aggressive too. We'll get to that. But defensively, they are going to load that box. They're going to, they're not going to send a lot of pressure, but they're basically forcing you to throw it deep. And
Mhm.
that's going to lead, like you said, their secondary isn't their strength. That's going to lead to us, taking some shots. I think I don't think Monken's going to be afraid to throw the ball down the field and take
We
shots
have
at
the
these
weapons.
guys.
I mean, I wouldn't consider Bateman a deep threat, and I wouldn't consider OBJ a deep threat at this point. But Nelson Aguilar and Zay Flowers for certain can get down the field.
And
And
Andrews is going to get matched up
Andrews,
on.
yeah,
He seems to be our most
yeah,
consistent downfield threat to me. And Aguilar too. Both of them have been the
Aguilar.
most consistent downfield threats up the seams.
Aguilar
Um,
might be able to get like one or two really big plays this weekend.
They are very good in zone coverage. I've seen they don't run as much man, like you said. They don't have the personnel to do that. They're very good at zone coverage, though.
Yeah,
With that comes, you're not going to get a lot of yak yardage after the catch,
right.
because they're sitting in those zones and they're just going to rally. They're really good at rallying to tackle, kind of like we are,
Yeah.
but we run more man, I would say, defensively.
Mhm.
But like you said, it starts and ends with Aiden Hutchinson with their defense. We have to protect Lamar. We have to. That whether that means keeping an extra guy in or bringing in Patrick Ricard, keeping the running backs in. We need to help out our tackles on the edge. That Kaminsky, the guy that's on the opposite side of Hutchinson, he had a really good game last week. I think he's pretty good, not to Hutchinson's level, but they also have
Right.
really good defensive tackles with Ali McNeil and Benito Jones. Those two are kind of remind me of Pierce a little bit in the size. They're both 315 plus.
Oh, for sure. Yeah,
So I think our guards are going to be challenged, and that's another thing that worries me.
our
But
offensive line will be having nightmares all week about this Lions defense.
But if they're going to be aggressive and we can hold for at least 2 seconds, I think Lamar's going to be able to take some shots downfield. I think this has a chance to be one of Lamar's legacy games. To be honest,
Yeah, you do.
I you know I think he's got a really good chance to put up some numbers in the air this game. It kind of reminds me of the Cleveland defense with their strength being up front, but I don't think they're as good as Cleveland's defense past the defensive front.
Okay. And I mean, I will say the Buccaneers were, I mean, they weren't scoring, but they were driving on the Lions a lot in that game that I just watched. And so
And
it is
yeah.
it is very possible to move the ball against them. It's just like Tyler and I have both said ad nauseum now. Just keep Lamar clean, and we should be fine.
And red zone offense. We need to score touchdowns in this game. We cannot afford to just sit back and kick field goals because this other offense on the other side is going to score. They are.
What
I
are you
know
talking
we have a
about?
great.
We beat the Lions with 6 field goals.
Yeah, back when they were 5-12
Awful.
or
Yeah,
whatever,
5-11 every year.
This is Detroit has not had a team like this since Barry Sanders. It's
Ever in my life.
Yeah, in our lifetime, they have not had a team like this. And that's why they're kind of like America's team a little bit. Like everybody kind of roots for them because they've never done anything wrong to anybody's teams. They've always been an easy doormat win. And so everyone's like, "Oh yeah, Detroit's finally winning. Good for them."
It's going to be really, really sad when they have to go to San Francisco in the divisional round, and everyone's going to be rooting for them because I don't know. I feel like that even though Cleveland beat them last week, no matter who else in that conference is showing up, I think that conference runs through San Francisco.
The NFC, but
yeah. I don't know.
I think
Sorry, that was a little random. I'm just
I
thinking
think
Lions.
honestly to me, San Francisco showed a little bit of weakness against Cleveland as far as what their issues were, and that was kind of if you put pressure on Purdy, he's not going to be all sunshines and rainbows, and Detroit has that ability to do that with their defensive line, but
San Francisco is just so electric, though. And you know what would make them so much better? They always single out one weapon every week. It's like McCaffrey has a big game, or Ayuk has a big game, or Debo has a big game. But if they really just spread the wealth a little more, I think they would they would be even more successful. I mean, I know Debo got hurt last week. That was tough because he looked like he would have had a pretty big game, but then so did McCaffrey. Um, and so like I don't know, it just felt like some of the other guys, don't really always get the ball because they're forcing it to those three people. You know, I don't know.
Yeah.
Anyway, we are not a 49ers show.
Yeah, for sure. Let's go ahead and move on to defense. I think first off, we have to start this with the fact that this is the Terrell Suggs Ring of Honor game. So I would love to see him pull up, come out of the tunnel, lead the team out with his Bane mask on, just full fledged Terrell Suggs. Shoot, I would love
That
to see
would
him.
be
I would love to see him
that would
suit
be
up for one more time too, but
yeah.
I bet
That
you he
would
still
be.
has it.
He could probably play like 15 snaps
Yeah,
in a
throughout the
game.
game,
Like
just
right,
sprinkle him in there.
just put him in on third down.
Yeah.
Yeah, just blow everyone's mind. Hey, he's actually come out of retirement for one game
His Ring of
and has
Honor
to
game.
reset his whole Hall of Fame clock because of it. But
Does that do that? If you come
I
back?
think if you come back and play, yeah. I don't think if you sign a contract, it does. But I mean, like, if Tom Brady played again, like his 6 years would probably start over when he retired again. You
But
know what I mean?
the one that I can think of is like Deion Sanders. Like he took some time and then he came back and played with the Ravens. I wonder, was he already in the Hall of Fame or no?
No, I thought he was on Washington before us, though. I thought he like went to Washington and then went to Baltimore.
I know he came out of retirement at some point.
Right. I think he'd only been retired for like 1 or 2 years, but who knows, dude? Deion Sanders is a fucking legend. He proved that he can almost lose a foot, coach a football team, win multiple Super Bowls, and he's probably not done doing all of the great, crazy crap that primetime does.
Yeah, for sure.
That man is on a different on a different level.
Just looking at our matchup here with the Lions offense, they are ranked number 3 in total offense, number 4 in passing offense. And you match that up with us. The Ravens are number 2 in the NFL in total defense and number 2 in the NFL in passing defense. So it's almost like strength versus strength. Who's gonna, come out on top? I think it's gonna be, it's gonna go both ways. We're gonna get our plays, but Detroit's definitely gonna get theirs. They've got too many weapons not to be able to make big plays. Jared Goff is probably the first top tier quarterback that we've faced this year. I would say. I mean, besides Burrow, but Burrow is a hobbled Burrow, so I don't count that.
Yeah.
What's his name? St. Brown, Amon-Ra St. Brown. He is elite. He is a top 5 receiver in the league in my book. And then they just got back Jameson Williams, and I think he's definitely a deep threat that we need to worry about. And then they have Sam Laporta at tight end, who's been balling this year.
Sam Laporta is like baby Mark Andrews, and Jameson Williams like only has like 6 catches, but I think it's like for like 200 yards and 4 touchdowns.
He's only been active for like 1 or 2 games.
Well, I'm just saying in his career, like he has like only like 4 or 5 catches for like 200 or 300 yards. Like
he's a deep threat,
or something crazy like that.
He can
just rack him up.
He can run. Laporta, I think the difference between him and Andrews is he's probably a better blocker than Andrews.
Yeah, he's in Iowa. He is from Iowa, isn't he?
I think so. Yeah.
Those Hawkeyes just always send the best tight ends to the league every year. Every once in a while they're a dud, but it doesn't shock me that he comes from there and he just has the fundamentals and just the IQ that he has.
Definitely.
I don't want him to do well this game, but I actually really do like Sam Laporta, and I want him to have a really good year. Just not against us.
Yeah, but just like their defense, their offense, like I said, is very aggressive. Like especially like just throwing the ball. They don't care if it's first or second down. They don't care what the situation is. They're like pedal to the metal. They are going to throw the ball 40 times a game. And, with us, I would probably throw it even more because of the amount of pass interferences that we've been drawing up on everybody, it seems like. Every time
Right,
we play a
especially with this
passing
guy.
offense, we're getting put in those situations.
Yeah.
But I think the key for us is we need to win first and second down. And get them into a third down passing situation where we can bring the heat, bring our third down blitz packages just like last week and really pressure Goff. I don't care who you are. I don't care if you're, Jared Goff or Ryan Tannehill. When you got Matabike, Clowney, and Kyle Van Noy and all those guys down your neck, like, good luck.
Yeah, the key to beating teams like this is really just like consistently forcing them into errors, because teams like this aren't going to just make an error on their own like the Ravens might, or like most teams might. Not singling out Baltimore, just it's frustrating. But they've done a really good job of turning off the self-inflicted wounds, which has plagued the Lions for as long as I've watched football. So eventually they'd have to figure it out. I think Dan Campbell. I mean, they still have issues every once in a while, but Dan Campbell, that team is just an extension of him, and he does not really make a lot of mistakes, and neither does his team. So forcing them into mistakes is the best way to win.
Yeah, and that's another thing. Like, the reason why people love Detroit is everyone's a fan of Dan Campbell. Like,
kneecaps.
if you've watched that Hard Knocks, my gosh, he's hard not to like.
Oh yeah.
He'd be the perfect coach to play for that motivates you and
He
has
is
a belief.
he is like when you have that fan sitting on a couch, it's like, fuck him, put me in as coach. I don't give a fuck. I'd coach my heart out. That's Dan Campbell. He's like a true fan of his players and his team and his city, and just so impassioned. And that's why he gets his team to play so well. I almost think of him almost having the same impact that Ray Lewis had on our locker room, just from a coaching standpoint rather than a defensive standpoint.
And I feel like he's almost the exact opposite coaching philosophy from John Harbaugh. Like,
right.
They are so aggressive. We are the opposite. We are as conservative as it can be. And I feel like when players make mistakes for the Lions, he brings them that extra belief in them, like, you can do it. Whereas Harbaugh, he's next man up guy, like, oh, you can't do it. I'll get someone else.
Right. And that's not a knock on Harbaugh. That's just two completely different coaching styles, and I understand it. I will say, as a Ravens fan, it is getting a little old. I wish we would just like have a little more fire, like some of our older teams did. It's not like Harbaugh wasn't coached when we had some of these teams. I just think it's like the evolution of the franchise as a whole and just the new generation of players. It makes it hard to kind of have that passion. I think that a lot of players are very much for self in the NFL these days rather than team. And that also makes it difficult. And I'm not saying that the Ravens are like that, but for the same reason why you might sit out 3 games at the end of the year so you don't get hurt, you can sign a contract, is the same reason I would say you're not as team focused. Of course, yeah, that's the smart thing. Of course, take your money, be safe, but also like, no, you're not there for your team. And I feel like older, more successful teams like the Legion of Boom, like the Ravens 2000 defense, like the Cowboys in the 90s, like money was a thing, but money wasn't that big.
Yep.
So, I mean,
get into our predictions.
Yeah, let's do our predictions. But I want you to go first.
All right. I'm going to start with the defensive side of the ball.
Oh, these are bold predictions and then game predictions.
And then my final game, because my offensive prediction is going to lead into the end result. So defensively, I'm going to key in on Arthur Maulet. I'm going to say he comes out. He has 1 sack with a forced fumble, big sack that causes Jared Goff to fumble the ball, big turnover there. And then I say he's going to come back and get himself an interception as well. 2 turnovers, Arthur Maulet. Secondly, Like
That
I
is very
said,
bold, but
offense. Offense. All right. Not as bold, but it is for the Lions. First 100 rushing yard game versus the Lions defense this year. And along with that, I think that we are going to win this game on the final drive, the Lamar game winning drive, and we win 21-20.
okay, reverse of the Chiefs Lions. Okay, there we go. I like that. All right, so defense. You know something? I love the parody of NFL. You go into a season, or you go into last off season, and you look at certain stories around the league. Just he's a lousy player. He's lazy.
Say it over again. You just went out.
I said you look at certain storylines, you know, like Jared Goff isn't a good quarterback, or like Jadeveon Clowney isn't a good teammate and he's lazy, or whatever. And then you look at what happens on the field. Jared Goff, MVP candidate, Jadeveon Clowney getting in the backfield every week. Well, what changed last week? Jadeveon Clowney had 2 sacks. Were they in garbage time? Yes. Were they against a much inferior quarterback? Yes. But the fact of the matter is, he had 2 sacks, and now he's coming home. I think he doubles his sack total for the year in this game. I think he will find a way to get 2 more sacks this week, and absolutely wreak havoc on that Lions O line in a way they haven't seen before. Because as lousy of a teams we've played this year, I feel outside of the Chiefs and Seahawks, the Lions have played a bunch of bums too, and they have not seen a real defensive line. You had no Chris Jones. You did play the Seahawks, so I'll give you that. Trying to remember they played the. It was someone bad in week 3. Oh no, they played the Panthers. That was nothing. They played the Packers.
They played the
That was
Packers.
nothing.
They played
Yeah, that's the one I was forgetting. The Packers.
Tampa Bay, obviously, and they played
Right.
Carolina, and they
So
played
okay.
Atlanta.
So say what you say about our defense playing nobody. Well, their offense has really played nobody. So not tomorrow, Sunday, Jared Goff will be on his ass, and 2 of those uh, sacks will come from Jadeveon Clowney. And to double up on that, to make it an extra bold prediction, I think Jadeveon Clowney brings one of those back for 6.
Nice.
On offense, I think that everyone loves to talk about how the Ravens have been inconsistent in the second half. We get off to fast starts. And so this is what I'm going to project. I'm going to project that the Ravens are going to score 24 points in the first half, and then they're going to score 24 more points in the second half. Because we're going to do the weird thing that we always do that makes no sense, and we're going to come play a team that is better than us, and we're going to beat them 48-12 or something crazy like that. And they're not going to look like the Lions. They're going to look like the Browns in 2017 when they went 0-16. And it won't make sense because next week we'll go to Arizona and play like a neck-and-neck game. But my bold prediction is the Ravens score 24 points in the first half and in the second half, and then the final projection is 48 to, we'll say, 21.
48-21.
And the reason I'm predicting us to win like that is because everything in my body is telling me the Ravens are going to lose, and the only time that happens is when we somehow find a way to miraculously win. So,
well, it's not miraculous if we win by 48-21.
Do you guys remember in 2021, before Lamar got hurt and all that, how we just stomped the Chargers at home? Like everyone was talking about Justin Herbert, and then they came in and we won like 38-13 or something like that, and it wasn't even close. Or how when we played, what was it? Who was it? It was back in like 2016 or 2017, whenever Jay Ajayi was really big and the Dolphins had won like 12 straight games or something. And then they came into Baltimore and we beat them like 50-something to 3 or something crazy like that. Like we always have those weird mid to late season blowouts of a really good team. And I think that this is that week. Because it's at home and because it's Terrell Suggs Day, I think that Roquan is going to find a way to get that defense solid against a good offense. And I think that Todd Monken is going to. I almost said something really that sounded wrong. So Todd Monken is gonna ride his guys and really make them productive in both halves. I think we're going to be far more aggressive. And I think that despite everything I just said, we're still going to leave a lot of points on the field.
All right. Well, I think that wraps up our predictions. Why don't we go ahead and move into our AFC North and prime time matchups then?
Okay. Are you able to show the scores on this one or the table?
Oh yeah.
How bad was it? Last week was a terrible week for me. I feel like
Look at that.
I can't,
Last
I
week,
cannot
Michael
see my
has
numbers.
he has his best week of the 2023 season with a 5-1 record last week to put one up
Oh
on,
yeah.
and I went 4-2. So yeah, what were you saying, Mike?
Oh, there was a big sign over my number, so I couldn't see if it looked like it said I went 1-5. I was like, oh god, and then I it was like a play sign, so I tapped it. I was like, oh okay.
Yeah.
Now I told
So
you, man, I'm coming for you.
look at
I'm
that
not.
overall. You are inching closer and closer. 21-14 to 2015. You're only one game back.
Let's do this. It's a long season though, so I could get ahead and then you'll just blow me out of the water, or it'll be neck
Dude,
and
I
neck
got
all
I
year.
got off to a very big lead to start off. So
Yeah. Well, hey, I mean, we both picked the Ravens, so at least if I get that one wrong, you do too.
I wasn't sure if you were going to, based off your
Uh,
talks earlier this week.
you know, I did go back. So what Tyler's referring to is I text him and the other guys like, hey, we could potentially, if we play at our worst, like only win one more game this year, right? And go 5-12. And they're like, oh guys, this is an overreaction, Michael. Like that's not gonna happen. I'm like, yeah, I mean, I know. I went back and I did like a realistic prediction for the rest of the year, and I don't think we ended up winning the division, but we still made the playoffs. So like, and I think we still won again. So I don't know.
All right,
I have a
so
little more faith than it might seem.
yeah. Well, let's start off with the game tonight. We've got Thursday night football action. Jacksonville at New Orleans. New Orleans is actually favored 2.5 points.
Yeah.
I know they said Trevor Lawrence was questionable with a knee injury. They were going to check it out pregame and see how he felt. It sounds like the consensus is that he's probably going to play and tough it out. So we'll see.
Right.
What do you got?
More than likely. I'm gonna assume Trevor Lawrence is gonna play, and I think the Jaguars continue to do what they've been doing for a few weeks. They'll probably win 31-21. The Saints aren't very good.
All right. I think it's going to be rocking in the dome tonight. And I'm going to take the Saints at home on Thursday night football because crazy things happen on Thursday nights.
They do. They do.
And I'm going to bank on Trevor Lawrence not being 100%. And that Saints, he's just going to be off. I think that Saints defense is going to cause him enough just to be a little uncomfortable and be off. And I like the Saints passing game versus the Jacksonville defense.
Yeah, Chris Olave could have a big night. So could Kamara in the passing game.
With that, so we already got one game where we both are going opposites. Yep. That's good. All right, next
we'll
up,
know tonight if we're tied or not. So
yeah. Next up, we got Cleveland at Indianapolis. Cleveland is favored 2.5 points. Breaking injury report news: Deshaun Watson did practice today.
Okay, well that's enough then. Cleveland wins. 28-17. I don't know. I mean, like,
you know what? Minshew magic is here for the rest of the year. Richardson is done for the year. And I'm going to say Minshew takes this and runs with it and starts this crazy streak of games where Minshew magic is back.
I would love to see him like on the Vikings next year or something as a starter.
And not to mention,
played his way into it.
Not to mention, I think that this run game is going to run for 150 plus on these Browns.
You think so?
I do. And so I'm going Indianapolis.
All right. You really want me to take the lead this week, don't you?
Hey, what can I say? I like the underdogs.
Yeah. Hey,
Even though the
well,
Saints are
Monday night.
favored. All right, next up,
Yeah.
Pittsburgh at the Los Angeles Rams. Pittsburgh's coming off their bye week. LA lost Kyron Williams, their starting running back, for a few weeks. And their backup is actually out too. So they're down to their third string running back.
Oh boy.
The Rams are
Well,
favored by 3.
I'll let you go first this time.
Yeah, I'm going to stick with the home team here. The Rams. I think Stafford is just going to spread the ball out through Kupp and Nakua. I think that the Pittsburgh secondary is questionable, and I think Stafford's going to show up in a big way there. And I also think the Rams defense has been balling out so far this year pretty good, and I think that they will do pretty good against the Steelers offense.
So the Steelers are this kind of team that always finds ways to beat teams they shouldn't, like the Ravens, like the Browns, like the Bills a couple years ago, and it's annoying. However, I think that the one thing that has always been true about that Steelers team is that their defense does travel very well. And Matthew Stafford's beat up, and that defense came off of a week of rest. I don't know. I think we mentioned it on the podcast where TJ Watt dislocated a finger a couple weeks ago and popped it back into place and just played the rest of the game. Because he doesn't give a crap. He's just going to hit you. And I don't think that Matthew Stafford will last the game. And I don't care what year it is, and I don't care how inept the Steelers' offense is. Defense wins championships, and that's why the Rams will probably get shut out at home. 13-0. Not a pretty score. Most people probably turn it off at halftime, but I'll be nice to the Rams and respect Matt Stafford, so I'll say 13-3.
So you're going Pittsburgh wins 3 straight games, differing teams. Wow.
The coaching is better. Sean McVay's a good coach. Mike Tomlin's better. The defense is better for the Steelers, and the offense, I would say, is the only thing the Rams really have. I would even argue that the special teams for the Steelers might be a little more, at least as far as their kicking and punting goes, maybe not they did muff that return against us. So, and he has been having issues holding onto the ball, but outside of that, I think the Steelers have a better just overall team in all phases besides offense.
All right. And then that is it for the AFC North this week because Cincinnati is on their bye week.
Yep. All the North teams getting their byes except for us, which means we will be well rested when it comes time to make the push.
Yep. And so that brings us to the Sunday night game, probably the biggest matchup of the weekend, if I had to say. Miami at Philly. Philly's coming off their first loss. Miami is, still putting up 40 points a game, but Philly is at home and they are favored 2.5 points. Who do you want to go first here, me or you?
You can go first. I'm interested to hear what you got to say about this game.
All right. I think that the Eagles defense is the only reason the Eagles are 5-1. Not the only reason, but they are the biggest reason. I don't think it's as much on their offense. So I think that they match up pretty well against the Dolphins. The Dolphins have faced one good defense so far against Buffalo, and they lost. Yeah. And they lost. So
New England was good when they played them because they weren't injured yet.
Yeah, so I'm going to go with Philly. I think that they're coming off a loss, and these guys are going to be ready to win this game. I think the reason that being that they came off that loss, that's really going to propel them in this game.
I think that Miami is a very flashy team, and I think Tua is a very good player, but he's not very consistent all of the time. He does tend to struggle when he faces a tough defense. I don't know what it is about that team. When they face a good defense, it's like they throw out half of their playbook, which is really strange. I just said that defense wins championships, And I do think the Philly offense is good enough to score on the Dolphins defense. I don't necessarily know if anyone is good enough to score on the Eagles defense. So I would probably say now it did happen. The Commanders put up a decent amount against them.
Yeah, but that's a team familiar with them.
Right. I would still say that Eagles 23, Dolphins 17. Maybe the Dolphins like go for it on 4th and goal with a minute left or something and can't get it, and then the Eagles kneel down the ball and win the game. Or even maybe the Dolphins score that, and then the Eagles need a field goal to win and get it. And then it's like 26-24. Either way, Eagles and a tight one.
All right. And the last but not least Monday Night Football game, we've got San Francisco at Minnesota. San Francisco is favored by 7. One thing to keep in mind here is McCaffrey is questionable.
Mm-hmm. So is Deebo Samuel. Like I said, the 49ers are very good at choosing one part of their offense and just oversaturating that one part, just really figuring out what works and then overusing it until it doesn't work anymore. Normally defenses don't adjust. I consider that to actually be a pretty big weakness because I feel that they could. I mean, I know it's hard to say pile on more because they have been scoring a lot on a lot of teams, but like, I don't know. It feels like there could be a little more of a share of the wealth on that offense, and I think that's what holds them back. And I do think that the Vikings are the best team in their division. No disrespect to the Lions. I just think they lost a couple close ones early, and I think that the only reason I will pick the Vikings to lose is because Justin Jefferson is hurt. If Justin Jefferson was there, I would pick the Vikings every time.
So you're picking San Fran.
I'm picking San Fran on a technicality.
I am also going to pick San Francisco, especially with them coming off of a loss just like Philadelphia. I think that they are going to be ready to go. They're going to be pissed off, ready to go. And I do think it'll be close, though. I think Minnesota will cover the 7-point spread. I could see it easily being a 3 to 4 point win for San Francisco.
Yeah, it's not going to be like a blowout or anything.
Yeah.
Vikings will keep it close.
I will say, if Minnesota wants to do anything with this season, they better start now.
This would be I mean, let's not forget they were really, really close to beating the Eagles. This would be a statement win for the Vikings. And again, every time I do predictions for the year, no matter kind of what their record is at the point, I always somehow find myself putting the Vikings in the last 4 in the NFC. They always find a way to be in the divisional round at least. Because I think they're that good. They really are. I think that they got a lot of flack last year for having a bad defense, but that defense has gotten better. It's just not talked about because they're not winning games. And it's frustrating to see them lose like this because those are the kind of games where you want to pull your hair out. Those are the kind of games like losing to the Steelers. Like you really shouldn't have lost that game, but you just did. You know? So I have faith in the Vikings. I really think that they'll be good. I hope they win this game because I do not like the 49ers. But I still go with the 49ers because Justin Jefferson's out.
All right. Well, I think that wraps up all of the primetime games now, and that will bring us to Mike's top 5 Ravens segment.
It was a win, so I do have to choose 5 winners. Number 5, I am going to do Justin Tucker. Justin Tucker is reliable. I know he misses every once in a while, but he is human just like the rest of us. You try kicking a 63-yard field goal. He does it better than anyone in the world, and he proved that even in a game where he was used 7 times, if you include 8 times if you include the block PAT and the one that he made. No, 7. Crap, I can't count. Even though he had a PAT, he had 7 kicks, right? Because of the PAT and the missed field goals. Yep. And a blocked kick is not the same thing as a missed kick 9 times out of 10. Sometimes it's on the kicker, but a lot of times it's really not.
It looked like that one was on Tucker.
Was it?
It looked like it from the film that he kicked it low.
Oh, did he? Okay,
He got
well,
blocked
gosh.
from up the middle.
Well, I mean, I'll still put him on my top. Uh, too late. I still think, I mean, if you make 6 field goals in a game, you deserve a shout out anyway. He got a game ball, and he, in his post game speech, was very quick to say that the rest of the team does all the work, and he's kind of the complement. Him and the rest of special teams, they put them in a position to score. So obviously, just a leader in that locker room too. Number 4, I'd say Devin Duvernay. Man, just it doesn't matter how far we bury him on the depth chart. He's gonna find a way to make a play every week. He has been consistently this year, and this week it was on special teams. Probably could have had a touchdown. That's why he's not a little higher. Luckily, that didn't change the outcome of the game. Unfortunately, our offense was not able to put the ball in the end zone, so I don't blame him for that. Number 3, I was teetering with this one a little bit, because I don't really think he even really deserves to be in the top 5 this week, but the numbers say otherwise. I think Lamar Jackson is 3. I think your inability to score in the red zone. I understand that they ran the ball a lot, but you have control of this offense now. You can make a read and change the call. You have control. This is your offense. You need to be a little more aggressive in the red zone. And I feel like Lamar Jackson is a very aggressive player, so I kind of wonder why he hasn't been when given the opportunity. And it's not like we're blowing teams out right now. These are close games where a touchdown would be huge, and we run it 3 times in the red zone. So I think Lamar Jackson, just his decision making is probably why I would normally have him off this list, but his stats were really good this week. He was very accurate, only 1 turnover, which is less than he's had for the rest of the season. And even so, I would say that that's also Rashad Bateman's fault for just being lazy and not trying to stop the pass from getting picked. Number 2, brother, I don't care how sensitive the rest of the world is. Kyle Hamilton is a dog. And something about Baltimore, you want the players that make hits like that. And it's not, you don't want them to be dirty. And that wasn't a dirty hit. And of course, Chris Moore, I hope he's okay. But just like the level of aggressiveness he plays with, that's what I'm talking about. Not necessarily that one specific hit. I do again say that I don't think he should have been ejected. Definitely flagged, but not ejected. Um, you saw the impact when he was forced out of the game, how the defense opened up and how the Titans were able to move the ball on us, and come back into that game. You saw how dominant our defense was when he was playing. So there's that. And number 1, I think I would probably give it to Geno Stone this week. Geno Stone is a man of opportunity. He is tied for the league leading number of interceptions with, I believe, what is it, 4, 5?
3.
3. Okay. I wish it was 5, but 3 is good too. And he's not even a starter. He is making monumental game shifting plays when he's in. And, I love Marcus Williams, but I think we'll be okay. And I honestly think that's probably why he came back early, is because of how well Geno Stone has been playing. Why he might have forced himself back in early. Geno Stone, hats off to you. You're my number 1 Raven of the week. Let's hope we're doing a top 5 again next week.
Yeah, I'd also like to add a few honorable mentions of mine, if that's
Go
okay.
ahead.
I'd like to
Yeah,
add
absolutely.
Jadeveon Clowney as my honorable mention, as well as
Yep.
Justin Matabike, as well as Kyle Van Noy. Those 3.
I really teetered with Jadeveon Clowney, and the only reason Ravens fans are going to be mad at me for this, because I know I just touted him for getting 2 sacks. They were against Malik Lewis. And that is literally the only reason. And I do think it's fair that Tucker and Duvernay show up on this list because they were detrimental to the score. I feel like Clowney, while important, while game changing, if he hadn't gotten those sacks, it might not have really affected the outcome the way Tucker or
Well,
Duvernay.
the 1 sack was in the red zone at the end of the game where they were about to drive in and score a touchdown, and it maybe it didn't affect it because I think the next play that we got called for a pass interference.
Right. And that's what I'm saying. I would give him like a 5B. If I could go back and say 5A, 5B, because yeah,
But another thing with Clowney is he only played like 28 snaps or something like that. Like he didn't really play a lot this week. Of those three, I think Matabike had the most impressive week with his because he played so much. He had 2 sacks. He had
yeah,
2 tackles for loss. He was a beast up front. He was hard to block.
yeah. I guess I forgot about him when I was making my top 5.
But
But no, I don't know. It's just I think you got to give Lamar his props. You got to give Kyle Hamilton. Like it's such a weird week because so many Ravens played really well. And again, Kyle Hamilton has been up here a lot, and Geno Stone is kind of like a weird number one. But I'm just basing it off of what I'm seeing. Like sometimes you just expect things out of people, and sometimes you don't. So when you don't expect something and they do something, it really makes an impact. You know. So I stand by my top 5. I give my respect to the others, but I stand by my top 5.
all right. Well, I think that wraps up this week's week 7 preview or no, sorry, this is week 8, right? No, this is week 7.
We're 5-1.
Almost. Week 7.
As Lamar says, as Lamar said, you already given them the win.
Yep. So that wraps up our week 7 preview for the Detroit Lions podcast. Here we go. Make sure you guys give us a like, follow, subscribe, turn on the notifications, and we'll be back and see y'all early on next week with the recap episode. Hopefully after a big dub.
Yes, sir. Let's get this win, and let's stay healthy and live to fight another week.